Leigh Orwig called police to say she was attacked by an unknown intruder wearing a wig. What she didn't say was that when police arrived, they would find Leigh's ex-husband, Brock Orwig, flat on his face with a butcher knife in his back.
What is the first you say that you learned it was Brock?
I was in the emergency room.
But how could that be after an assault Leigh says lasted for roughly 2 hours?
How could you not have recognized your husband?
Ex-husband.
Ex-husband. How could you not have recognized your ex-husband in such a poor disguise?
I have no idea. I think that there was poor lighting in my house. He was wearing a disguise. Very difficult to see through the blood. It was all down my face.
And it is true that Leigh did suffer some severe injuries.
I had 23 staples put into 3 large lacerations in my head.
But she insists she had no idea it was Brock delivering those blows. She also strongly denies being the person who stabbed him. At least, that's what she says today. Take a listen to this statement from one of the EMTs who treated Leigh that day.
She just stated that she didn't know what else to do, so she picked up a knife from the kitchen and had stabbed her boyfriend.
Not much ambiguity there.
So an ambulance driver, an EMT, said that they heard you say that you had stabbed your boyfriend in the back.
I have no idea about that conversation, but I never would have said that, and I never said it.
She identified him as her boyfriend throughout your conversation with him?
That's what she said, yes.
So you never said that you stabbed your boyfriend in the back?
Why would I call Brock my boyfriend, first of all? But no, I never said that.
And Leigh says it doesn't matter anyway in light of this email from one of the detectives working the case. It reads in part, the paramedic called and said she had injected some assumptions into her statement.
These people redacted a lot of their statements because I never said those things.
Okay, so then who did bury that knife in Brock's back?
Well, how bad was the injury?
Well, they said that she had put the knife in 4.5 or 5.5 inches. Apparently had just missed my aorta or whatever, and it was horrible.
In his first ever national TV interview, Brock Orwig sits down to give us his version of what he's calling the event.
Okay, when's the last time you saw her before the event, which I will call the attack? I mean, you had a knife in your back and she'd been bonked in the head,
Right,
so.
right.
Yeah.
So on November 5th, I was volunteering as a lunchroom monitor, and Leigh came in.
What did you talk about?
It was about parenting time and money, and I said, listen, I'm hoping we can get some of this stuff behind us. I said, can we talk about it sometime? And she said, yes, come on over tomorrow and we'll talk about it. And I said, okay.
Even though both of them claimed they hadn't been on speaking terms for months.
Was there a set time that you were supposed to go to Leigh's house?
We just decided to come over after our daughter went to school.
Brock says he walked there from a friend's house that morning and that all seemed fine.
I went to her side door. It was open, and I knocked on the door, and then I saw her come to the door. She invited me in.
Once inside, Brock says Leigh had him take off his shoes, and as he bent over to do that,
I looked up just as she was swinging something at my head.
that something, he claims, was the same weapon Leigh says was used on her.
I ended up ducking. Obviously, I didn't get hit. Instinctively, I ended up kicking her back. She fell down on the ground, and I came over to her and ended up wrestling a 2x4 out of her hands.
And what is being said while this is going on?
Oh, she's screaming, "You're a dead man. You owe me so much money." It was on and on. She was irate.
Mad enough, he says, to kill.
I stepped back. She hopped up. I saw her grab something off the counter or near her stove. I thought it was a spatula at first. I realized very soon after that it wasn't. And she had a butcher knife in her hand.
Brock says after that, he started backing away from the kitchen and into her living room.
It was clear that she wasn't going to stop, and I had to defend myself. And this is the part that haunts me, and I feel horrible about it.
With the 2x4 he wrestled out of Leigh's hand, Brock says he had no choice but to swing.
It just made her madder. So I hit her again, and then finally I hit her a third time. Then she was stunned.
Brock says that's when he knocked the knife out of her hand and spotted Leigh's car keys on the floor. His chance to get away.
So I figured I would grab her car and go for help. So I ran into the garage. I couldn't figure out how to start the car. So I got out of the car, went back to the service door that I came in, and as soon as I opened it, Leigh was there with the butcher knife. She slashed at me, I had nothing to defend myself. And I turned to run. I felt this indescribable pain in my back. My whole body was contracting. I couldn't breathe. All I remember is falling to my knees, and then everything went black. I woke up in the hospital sometime later that day.
Detectives were there waiting to take a statement.
So tell me again, how long were you in the house actually?
I think it was like 45 seconds.
Oh, so you were just in the house briefly?
A far cry from the 2 hours Leigh says the attack lasted. But just like with Leigh's account,
I have a few questions.
Of course.
When she came at you,
Right.
why didn't you just turn around and run?
I was inside.
But the kitchen is here, the door is here, and you're here. And if she's by the kitchen, that means the door is closer to you.
No, it doesn't. Do you want me to draw a picture of what it looked like?
well, if he was offering.
The door here is going to be just like the door you walked in, and then you're going to walk us through what happened. Okay, so you walk in.
She swung this thing at me. I ducked. I ended up kicking her back. She fell into her oven or stove.
All right, so let me stop you right there. If I'm in approximately the same area which you were in, and she falls, you at this moment had every opportunity to leave, to get out and run away. Nothing was blocking you. Why didn't you run?
I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. It didn't even occur to me.
Not the most satisfying answer. And just what does Leigh think?
He says you invited him to the house and you came at him with a knife.
That's very inventive.
Now, why do you say that that's inventive?
Because that's not the truth.
Coming up, who is telling the truth? Police are about to offer up their own theory, and it may be the most unbelievable thing you've heard yet.
There were some circular blood stains that were located right next to a bobsled in the garage. Those blood stains showed me that
Without question, those two things happened.
Yep.
The question is, who put the knife in Brock's back?
I think it would be great if the Edina police could talk to you guys.